Work on these 5 habits will make you the next challenger in the League of Legends Wild Rift. Let's go.
Just for the thrill of it, nothing counterfeit with you. Just the thrill of it. Just for the thrill of it, nothing counterfeit.
Yo guys, how's everyone doing? This is your guy AssassinDave. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to discuss 5 very important habits that you need to develop right away. And once you develop habits, you're going to be the next level Wild Rift guru, the Wild Rift master that everybody look towards to ask questions for. So we're gonna go ahead and get into those habits. But before we talk about the contents, make sure to drop the like, subscribe, and turn that bell on to all notification bells so you do not miss another daily live stream, another giveaway, another video, and most importantly, share the stream, share the video with your friends so they can come in and learn these 5 very important habits to develop in the world of League of Legends Wild Rift. Without further ado, let's get started. The first very important habit that you need to develop is called preparation work. Basically, you want to check enemy comp and do preparation work including runes, summoners, and think about early game rotation strategy. For example, you're playing Orianna, the opponent mid laner is someone like Katarina or Zed. It's an assassin that most likely you're not gonna go like face to face against, right? Because early game before level 3, you're really strong. They're probably not gonna fight you. But after level 3, they probably jump in just to dish out like one set of combos to do a little bit of damage and then quickly run away. Until level 5, they're gonna all in you. The chances of you encountering that champion and do auto attack trading like back and forth is very, very tiny. In fact, most of the time, the encounter probably happen only within 1 or 2 seconds. Either you're dead or they're gone. So instead of taking Conquer as your runes, you might consider taking Electrocute because then you can dish out large amount of burst damage in that short period of encounter instead of taking Conquer where you're never gonna trigger the 5 stacks. You might also consider taking Shield as one of your battle spells, as your summoner, some may call it. This way, you can get yourself a little bit of protection. You might also consider building Luden's Echo as one of your core items, maybe the first item, instead of some other item, because, like I said, the encounter is very short, so you want to do as much burst damage as possible in that short encounter and get ready for the next burst of damage. In another example, let's say you're playing Shyvana, and an enemy does have a Lee Sin jungle. The chances are that Lee Sin will try to invade your jungle, especially the good ones. In lower elo, probably not, but this does not mean you do not consider the possibility of that Lee Sin invading your jungle. You still have to prepare for it. You have to think about your rotation strategy, how you're gonna clear the jungle to get to level 5 safely without being invaded. Because if Lee Sin going to your jungle without your team support, the one-on-one, you're gonna lose for sure before level 5. You guarantee done, right? Because Lee Sin is so much stronger compared to a Shyvana before level 5. So let's say if Lee Sin started their red, from the way how enemy Siliner leashed their jungle, you can see their Siliner didn't show up in time when the minions clashes. Most likely they're leashing their jungle. So if Lee Sin cleared the red buff, did you ward enemy blue, right? If you warded the blue and you find out Lee Sin is starting the red and somehow he's now coming to the blue, that means he probably is staying in the red side jungle of their side, which is on the same side of your blue side. Knowing this, there is a big chance of that Lee Sin coming to your jungle. Even if Lee Sin doesn't come to your jungle, considering that you still want to get a river scuttle, going face to face against a Lee Sin in the river by yourself is still very dangerous. So you might, instead of going to the blue, just stay at your rest side, clear all 3 camps, and get a river scuttle, and then maybe even gank the bottom lane, instead of going to your blue and maybe get ganked by Lee Sin. The point is, when you finish picking your champions and you look at enemy draft, everybody's finished their draft, it's very important for you to start adjusting your rune page, adjusting your summoner spells, and adjusting your build to prepare for this match. You gotta think about the strategies, gotta think about what you need to build, and all that good stuff. Because once you get in the game, there's not that much time for you to think about that. You really only got the few, like 20 seconds, 30 seconds before the game starts to think about that. It's a very, very important habit to have, and I recommend you start practicing that right away. The second very important habit that you need to have is to look at the mini-map frequently, okay? Probably every other second, because most of the information you're gonna get from the game is actually not from the center of your screen. And I've seen this from a lot of new players or even some of the experienced players when they're really tired, they play for a long period amount of time, including me. People just forget to check the minimap. But that is so important, especially for the early game rotation. You need to know where enemies are all the time. You need to predict where enemies are all the time. By frequently checking the minimap, like we mentioned in the first habit, you can then predict enemy jungle pathing, kind of see where they're going, where they're going to be next. If you're a much stronger jungler like Lee Sin, enemy has a Mumu jungle, and you know that he started red, it's most likely this jungler will be at a blue buff after you clear the red buff, the chicken camp, and then come to blue buff. You might set up a bush camp at the enemy blue. Or if you saw Amumu started blue buff by warding there, and then you're like, okay, this guy is going to move to red buff. Now you're Lee Sin, you already took your red, you're really, really powerful, and Amumu only has a blue. His early game is just very, very weak right now. You can actually go to the red buff and try to invade and coordinate with your team. So you need to get a habit of frequently checking the minimap to see where the enemies are and constantly predict where they're going to be next. This will help you plan your next move in the game so you don't surprise yourself with some counter gank or simply, falsely accusing enemy of being map hacking. There are a lot of times when a jungler tried to gank a lane, but you forgot to check the minimap. You forgot to predict where the enemy jungles are. You can go gank the enemy lane, but if you don't get anything out of it, but at the same time, because you went to gank, you took some tower shots, you took some trade on your HP, you're actually low, and an enemy jungle jump in and actually clear the entire team from your side, and you're like, enemies map hacking. They're not. So it's very, very important for you to check and predict where enemies are all the time. By developing the habit of predicting enemy entire team's location, this allows you to sometimes, steal a dragon, steal a baron. If the enemy team is on the other side of the map, and your entire team's on this side of the map, you can just go ahead and rush it down really, really fast. So get started in your next game. Start looking at your minimap every other second. Just use your peripheral vision, take a quick scan at it, take a quick peek at it to see what's going on, and then get that information, collect information, calculate in your head, and plan your next move. The third habit is actually a very interesting habit for those people who have bad memories like me. Is you check your status before each engage. Know what you have in your hand. Like, do you have GA available? Like, how many seconds do you have until your GA come off cooldown, right? Which summoner do you have available? Do you have flash available, or how many seconds until you have your summoner ready off cooldown? The same thing. Goes for ultimate, goes for skills, goes for everything. You want to make sure you know exactly what you have up your arsenal before you get yourself into some dangerous situations, okay? So just count them, take a look at them to see what you have available. If you have GA, you might be considering engaging first, right? If you have Hourglass or Stasis Enchant, whatever you like to call them, you can then go in and bait out some skills, right? Or if you're Malphite, you don't even have ultimate, you just used it, and now you're moving to the dragon. What are you gonna do at a dragon pit? You don't have your ultimate. You're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna achieve anything. And meanwhile, if you move to the dragon as a Malphite without ultimate, an enemy has a Fiora who is really good at split pushing, you might lose your first tower without getting anything in return. So it's really important for you to always know what you have available before you get yourself into any situations, okay? Just make sure you scan through everything to know what you have and then plan your engages. The fourth habit to get yourself really good at is timestamp. You want to get yourself familiar with some important timestamp in the game. For example, the first major objectives that a lot of people actually omit or just simply don't know is a river scuttle that spawns at 1 minute and 25 seconds into the game. A good team usually have a mid lane and a side lane who usually help their jungler with that side of the river scuttle. And a lot of times, if your team move ahead of enemy team, you might catch the enemy jungler, unprepared and just catch a first blood. And if you are able to kill the enemy jungler that early, it will provide your team with a huge lead into the first dragon, into the next objective. So the first objective, spawns at 125, the river scuttle. Make sure you try to gain lane priority, shove the wave, and then go help your jungler to secure that objective. The next objective spawns at 4 minutes, which is the first dragon. You really have to consider, do you want to make a move on the first dragon? Does your team have the team comp necessary to fight for the first dragon? But just remember, the first dragon spawns at 4 minutes, and if you want to make a move, you better prepare yourself for it, right? Don't get yourself into an elongated team fight around like 3 minutes, 30 seconds, so you cannot recall. You want to make sure you go back home before 4 minutes, give yourself about 10, 15 seconds, before the dragon spawn to come back in lane to get yourself in a bush to prepare for the enemy's arrival, right? Go back home, buy your items. This is very, very important. And then the 6 minutes is a Rift Herald. Rift Herald, I always think is not as important as other objectives, but it spawns at 6 minutes. If your team want to get it to secure the first hour, to help with the next dragon, or somebody may hold it for as long as they could just to use it to contest the first baron. There are a lot of possibilities you can use the River Herald for. So it spawns at 6 minutes. get that down on your notepad. And remember guys, dragon spawns every 4 minutes. So basically if you kill the first dragon, let's say you killed it at 30 seconds, right? 4 minutes and 30 seconds. The second dragon will spawn at 8 minutes and 30 seconds on time. So just put that in mind, because if both teams are able to kill 2 dragons before the first 12 minutes, you're going to have another small dragon that spawn somewhere around that time, around 12 minutes. And then whoever slay it, 4 minutes after that, the elder dragon will come out. But let's say if no one touched the second dragon, it's just been there for forever until 12 minutes. After one team kills the dragon, the next dragon will be the elder. Basically, you're only gonna get 3 dragons overall, including the elder dragon. All right. So just to keep that in mind, dragon spawns every 4 minutes. It depends on when you slay it. It determines how many dragons overall you're gonna obtain in this game. The next major objective timer you need to know is 10 minutes for Baron. Baron spawns at 10 minutes, and if your team has a composition to slay it really fast, you can actually get it at 10 minutes. For example, you have Shyvana, who builds Blade of the Ruined King first. A lot of times, if you just go with 2 to 3 people, you might be able to steal it right on time, because Shyvana takes out objective really fast thanks to her passive, including a lot of Shyvana now take Mastermind on the rune, which give her more damage to do those objectives really fast. So just to know that Baron spawns at 10 minutes. And these are some important timers that you really need to get yourself familiar with in the world of League Legends Wild Rift. The teams who got the timers down will plan proactively on what to do. Do we give up this dragon like proactively, strategically, so we can take down some towers on the other side of the map? Or do we contest the dragon? If we do, how do we do that? You might say, Dave, I'm a solo queue player, right? How does this have anything to do with me? And yes, it's still very important for solo queue players, because if everybody watches the video and everyone gets better on those macro objectives, it's gonna help improve the overall gaming environment a lot. All right, so just get those timers down as soon as possible. The 5th habit that we want to talk about is smart locking. Basically, get really good at using the smart lock to change targets in the middle of the team fight. You do not want to rely on auto aim all the time. Now, I know the auto aim in Wild Rift is actually super OP, especially for a champion like Blitz, Israel and stuff. But if you want to be a really good player, you want to be getting yourself familiar with smart lock. Try to hold your auto attack to select the target that you want to attack. Try to hold your auto attack in the team fight to select which target you want to focus on, which target you want to throw your skills on. Now, it depends on player's preference. You can also use the champion icon hero lock, right? That is also available in the setting. You can just go ahead and use that setting if you want. But make sure you're actually playing the game with a lot of accuracy. This might be really annoying in the beginning, and you might not want to do it because it does take some time to get used to, and it might feel really annoying. But you need to get this down. In Wild Rift, the attack speed is not as high as some other mobile MOBAs. It's very important for you to improve your skill accuracy or attack accuracy in the game. So getting used to the smart lock. Now, personally, I just like to hold my attack to select whichever champion I like to, get my target onto. Or when I use a skill, I like to hold my skill and select the target I want to use my skill onto. It's player preference once again, but you need to get this down right now. So those are the 5 habits that we're going to mention today. If you enjoyed today's 5 important habits that you need to develop right now, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn that bell on. With that, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.
Just for the thrill of it.